A lot of talk about space tourism these days, thanks to the exploits of Richard Branson and more recently Jeff Bezos. But the first space tourist was an American by the name of Dennis Tito, and takes us back to 2001. Tito was a former aeronautical engineer who made a lot of money in business, and he hitched a ride aboard the Soyuz rocket, which was the USSR's main space station in those days. $20 million is what he spent to sit first inside of the capsule, along with two other cosmonauts, launched into space, rendezvoused with the International Space Station, spent 8 what he called euphoric days up there before coming back down to Earth. Money well spent, he said. Well, more recently, Jeff Bezos, of course, reintroduced the idea of space tourism with the rocket that he called the Alan Shepard rocket. Why? Because he wanted to remember America's first space mission. That was back in 1961 when Alan Shepard became America's first astronaut. Well, Bezos's rocket was in fact more like the Saturn V that propelled astronauts to the moon and the space shuttle, in the sense that it burned liquid hydrogen as fuel and used liquid oxygen as the oxidizing agent. That was quite different from the rocket that launched Alan Shepard way back in 1961. That rocket was modeled on the German V2. The V2 had been used widely by the Germans during the Second World War. It was a terrifying weapon. It used alcohol as fuel and liquid oxygen as oxidizing agent. The Americans captured a number of German V2s, and they modeled their spaceships on that. And the one that launched Alan Shepard was the Redstone Rocket, again using alcohol as fuel, liquid oxygen as oxidizing agent. And Shepard was inside of this capsule here and was launched into space, although he didn't orbit the Earth, as Yuri Gagarin had done for the Soviets 3 weeks earlier, but at least he did become the first American to reach outer space. It was a short space flight, just up and down, plunking back down into the ocean. But there's something that hasn't widely been publicized, and that is that at launch, Shepard, of course, was on his back in the capsule, and there was a hold. They thought that this was going to take only about 15 minutes, and there was no provision made for nature's call. But the hold kept getting longer and longer as they were trying to fix it, and Shepard radioed the tower that there was going to be more than one type of launch here. And the engineers in the control room panicked. They didn't know what to do. They didn't want to stop the launch at that time. They allowed Shepard to urinate into his spacesuit, and there he was inside that capsule, lying in a pool of urine at his back as he took off into space. That was the first American space launch, and that is the one that was commemorated by Jeff Bezos's more recent launch. Where space tourism is going to go, nobody knows. Is it going to be just something for the rich, or is society going to have some spin-offs from which we can benefit, just like we have from the Soyuz rockets and from the original American launches?